Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, this very violent Anglo adjacent woman, war criminal from Bosnia and Herzegovina, lied and committed fraud to get U.S. citizenship. Right? See, the thing about it is this story is a story that many people had not even heard of this story whatsoever. See, these are the kind of stories, even though they should be gigantic, front and centered on gigantic type of media, there are ones who know about this story, and there are more that don't know, and they don't want people to hear about these kind of stories. Because first of all, remember, within Americanism and some other places, right, they have sit there and instilled upon quite a number of men's mentalities to sit there and look at numbers of women as this collectively angelic. They can do no wrong. That they want numbers of men to look at numbers of women as overall like some Leave It to Beaver days, right? Some kind of father knows best days. Right now, in this situation, she is a foreignistic type person who ran from Bosnia and Herzegovina, where she was a war criminal and committed heinous acts upon people, right? But how many personnel are just like her, be it violent or non-violent, but they still were criminality, and they lied to get into the United States and lied on the application to lie about trying to get some kind of either legal permanent residence to then hopefully lead to citizenship, right? See, the thing about it is, see, this type of violent creature, right, of this Anglo-adjacent type of woman, now she would have known nothing about Leave It to Beaver days or following those best type of women. She don't care less. When she was in Bosnia and Herzegovina, she was a war criminal, right? But see, when she fled over to the United States, there are high numbers of males that would have looked at her and said, "Oh, she's probably a nice looking woman," right? And that's all they saw, because first of all, she would have slid under the generic Anglo-white category, even though she is a white adjacent or Anglo-adjacent woman. See, though, they love playing those kind of games too. Now, the thing about it is, let me share my screen for a second before I get into this particular topic. When you ask numbers of personnel, hey, could you show where Bosnia and Herzegovina is at? Yeah, go ahead and show where that's at, right? Most people are like, what? The who? What? The Bosnia? What? See, this is why not only history, world geography is essential. Now, unfortunately, within certain sections of educational, parentheses, educational, various society, world geography is not something that is at the utmost top, let alone true historical history, especially within America, and let alone true Black American history that so many people have fled and they regurgitated why they escaped from people that look like them in that country, right? Somebody once applies to, and get over to America and benefit off of Black pain and what Black Americans have had to go through for centuries, right? So these people slide under some kind of generic people of color, or like in her situation, she's a minority, right? She's an immigration minority. This creature, violent criminality. Then she can slide under that she is she can slide under that she's a foreignist, going through things that she escaped and stuff like that. So she can play that card, and then she can slide under the generic Anglo minority woman card. You see how that goes, right? why Black Americans got to consistently, not to sell lots of gullibles, got to consistently go through black pain every freaking day, while other people get benefits and resources, and numbers of people get some reparations. But Black Americans talk about reparations. Do you have like people saying we ain't got anything to do with slavery, right? But they have no problem with giving reparations and foreign aid to so many different places. You see how that goes, right? Ukraine, right? They don't want to talk about that, which is a whole different topic in itself. So on this topic right here, on this image, he said, where's Bosnia and Herzegovina? Again, you have some people that be like, what? Right? Now, let's just kind of scale in for a second. You see over here, United States. Make sure it's right. See, United States, of course, right here. Now you start talking about going to Central America, part of it, right there, right? So going to Central America, then going across Panama and going to what? South America, right? So you go across this Atlantic Ocean, you see Africa, things like that. And you start looking at Europe right here. So you say, hey, can you point for us? Okay, it's in Europe. Can you locate Bosnia and Herzegovina? Again, you have some personnel that'll be like, what? Right? Now, let's just go a little bit more here. You see it. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Right over here next to Croatia, next to Montenegro, Serbia, Hungary, right? So that's what Bosnia Herzegovina is at, right? Right along also the Adriatic Sea. In that situation here. All right. So I just want to set that part up, right? So she fled. Now, not like a cosplaying person that has the skin of black, but don't care anything about Black Americans and surely don't have their back, but they cosplay Black Americans and they flee from people that look like them, right? And they tell them Black Americanism when it's convenient for them. She's not one of them, of course, because she's Anglo adjacent. So she will be a non-cosplaying Black American. Tether, or she's not one of those, because again, she's not a Black person per se in general sense. She is a white adjacent fleer, right? So she came from way over here, right? However direction she went up or went down, wherever it is, right? She went all the way across these various parts of Europe, right? Way across the parts of Europe, way across there, past Spain, past Portugal, unless you went through South America, unless you went through Africa and then went through South America and then up through Central America and went up through Mexico up until North America, continental North America, right? But regardless, way over here to the United States, right? So I just want to set that part up first a little bit. Now, but at the same time, right, you still got people that act just like this when you start talking about, again, numbers of violent women. That is epidemic in various parts of America. There are some violent women, right? But again, numbers of men look at numbers of women as angelic on their situation. So the thing about it is, and this is what numbers of men do, when you start talking about, hey, you do realize some violent women out here, right? You realize there's some domestic abusing numbers of violent domestic abusing type assailant women as well, right? Oh man, that messes up some men out there, right? As well, but those are different topics in itself. So the thing about on this image right here, you really can't see anything on that, right? And here's the crazy part about it: when you type in image, you start looking around a little bit, you be like, man, you really can't find any kind of images relating to her. You see how this goes, but did she lied on her application, right, to basically try to come to the United States and try to go toward the citizenship? She lied on the application. And they got images and documented images of her, but it's interesting how you really can't even find too many images of her. That's interesting as well, by the way, right? So the thing about it is, what this system loves is, no matter what, if these are a type of foreigners, Anglo adjacent women, are numbers of women within certain parts of Panama's culture. Numbers of them just have to do this. What do they have to do? Many of them? Yes. And you'll have quite a number of men rocking and rolling this, coming to the rescue of white adjacent, Anglo adjacent women and certain numbers and various types of predominant based Anglo numbers of women. The ones applies to, right? And this is what the system, why the system is so brilliant. This is why feminists, warped feminists, are also brilliant to a point because they use numbers of men that have low self confidence and numbers of men that just can't get it through certain thick skulls to sit there and not just look at numbers of women from the outside appearances, right? So again, those are different kind of topics in itself. So let me go ahead and share my screen and share this first particular article. This is going to be a real quick show on this. Now, as you see this already here, I'll make sure, hold on, give me a second. All right. West Virginia woman, by the way, Anglo adjacent woman, pleads guilty to lying to obtain U.S. citizenship after committing what again? War crimes in Bosnia. Oh, let me repeat this title here. West Virginia woman, Anglo-adjacent woman, pleads guilty to lying to obtain U.S. citizenship after committing war crimes in Bosnia. You see that this particular date, November 14, 2025, this news release, today is December the 9th, 2026. A naturalized U.S. citizen from Bosnia and Herzegovina pleaded guilty on November the 10th to criminal charges relating to her lying about prior criminal conduct to obtain U.S. citizenship. The defendant obtained the privileges of U.S. citizenship through lies and deceit, concealing the violent crimes she committed in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Said, however, personnel, the department is fully committed to holding accountable those who exploit our immigration system and pose a threat to public safety. While at the same time, there's still a border breaking, still catastrophicness that's still going on various parts of the border. Don't let people try to tell you that, oh, the border just basic security. It's not. There are other different ways that these border break illegal immigrants are crossing this border every day. And relating to the southwestern part of the state, relating to Texas, New Mexico, like Arizona, California, you're talking about 2,000 miles of basically border down there, right? You can't cover all that. Oh, so you best there's quite a number of border break illegal immigrants coming across those areas. Please, they are. Right? Oh, you best believe they are still. And how many come from Bosnia, Herzegovina? How many other come from? I don't know all that. The list goes long, right? So the thing about it is, it talks about how covering up past human rights abuses to attain U.S. citizenship is an egregious offense. And I thank law enforcement partners both here in the U.S. and Bosnia and Herzegovina for investigating this matter to ensure that justice is done, such and such person for the District of Connecticut. Individuals who lie on their naturalization documents undermine the process for all who justly apply to be part of a great nation, such and such personnel. Tomac, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Tomacinus, something like that. Admissions of fraud are detestable because her history of targeting people based on their ethnicity and religion. And it's interesting because she is considered white in America. So basically, the criminality she was doing in Bosnia and Herzegovina, it was a pseudo white adjacent criminality, right? White crime just happened to be over in those areas. Such and such entity, along with our partners at the such and such entities, and human rights violators. And the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Office of Fraud Detection and National Security will continue to investigate crimes of this nature to ensure the sanctity of the immigration process for all who righteously apply for U.S. citizenship. Here's the thing about it. Oh, there is massive application fraud, massive personnel that are applying for U.S. citizenship that are committing major fraudulentness in documentation. Right? I think I may have did a podcast on that. I don't recall. Major fraud going on right now. Just like this major fraud with numbers of women that are sitting there using various males. And by the way, they ain't just some Black Americans, by the way, males. Because you know that little game go in itself. There's always something going on against Black American males. Again, I'm not talking about sellouts and gullible ones, right? See, when you want to get the juices flowing and the ratings flowing and all this kind of stuff, just say something about Black American males, right? I'm going to, that's a whole different topic, right? But just understand, there's a big, gigantic, major citizenship application fraud that these various types of immigration personnel, etc., border break illegal immigrants, they're committing quite a number of immigration fraud. They're allowing applications left and right, right? Only thing is type in fraud of that, fraud applications in U.S. citizenship application. Just type that up. Fraud, major fraud going on right now, right? Every day. According to the court documents, Nada something, Radovan Tomatiak something, 53, served with the Zukafar something special unit of the Army of Bosnia and Herzegovina in the 1990s. During the armed conflict in the region, along with other Zufakar special unit soldiers, Tomaniak participated in the physical and psychological abuse of Bosnian Serb civilian prisoners. Let me repeat this again. According to the court documents, Nada something Radovan Tomakiak something 53 served with the Zufakar special unit of the Army of Bosnia and Herzegovina in the 1990s during an armed conflict in the region, along with other Zufakar special unit soldiers. Tomaniak participated in the physical and psychological abuse of Bosnia Serb civilian prisoners. But you got people that keep thinking that numbers of women, be it certain numbers of women within the predominant culture, be it numbers of white adjacent, Anglo adjacent women, they just can't be violent. It's not within them. While at the same time, it's in numbers of them. Apparently, it's in this one, right? When applying for U.S. naturalization in 2012, Tomaniak falsely denied having served in a detention facility or in any other situation involved the detention of others. She also falsely denied having committed a crime for which she had not been arrested, especially the crime of inflicting serious bodily harm under the criminal law of the Social Republic of Yugoslavia. Tomaniak's deception extended beyond her written naturalization application. During her interview with a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services officer, she was placed under oath and legally obligated to answer questions truthfully. Despite that obligation, she again lied about her service in a detention facility and her past criminal conduct. Tomaniak pleaded guilty to one count of procuring citizenship contrary to law. She is scheduled to be sentenced on February 3rd, 2026. Today, again, is January 9th, 2026. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after considering the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. The defendant faces a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. But at the same time, you'll have some personnel that act like that they didn't hear what I just read, and they be doing just like this.
Oh, brings it here into the barrel. Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
That's right. That's right. It's a sad thing. See, real masculinity is dwindling within sections of Americanism and higher other places. I'm just saying. Right? And this is why feminism is, with this scaly, dangerous mentality, is spreading. It's spreading like a dangerous virus in various parts of America. And it is demasculating numbers of males more and more. Right? But again, those are different kind of topics in itself on that situation. So again, as long as certain types of women within certain parts of Padama's culture and numbers of Anglo adjacent type women and some various other women from some different other places, but relating to this topic because she would be considered white or Caucasian within the U.S. So she can slide under the genericality of white. But then when she wants to dip out, you know how like some other people do, like some cosplaying black skin, medium black skin, light skin, whatever it is, tethers from certain sections of Africa. The ones applies to can be certain parts of the Caribbean. You get the point, right? The ones who do that, right? You have cosplaying Anglo adjacent type women and males, but in this situation, this cosplaying white generically adjacent woman, she can slide under the banner of generically white in the U.S., right? But then dip back out and say, "Oh my goodness, she came from this war-torn country and war-torn conflict, and you saw that go, so she can play those angles as well." Oh, you best believe it happens every freaking day that people doing certain immigrationists, they line left and right on their naturalization application. They're lying about the silent. Many of them are lying, with small exceptions, people, because they look at their section U.S. as just an open door of light. The United States overall is the top 2 country on this planet with over almost 200 some countries, almost, right? Almost 200 recognized countries, is the top 2 countries on this planet that has allowed more immigrationists. Let me say this again. The United States, the top 2, within the top 2 countries, out of close to 200 countries on this planet, has some of the most allowed immigrationists to this country of America. And how many programs and resources and freebies they're getting, how many sit there and they get a chance to pop out these kids. So kids, shall I say, let's have some kind of health situations, wherever it is, where they may not be able to do that. But number of the ones that do pop out, there's quite a number of them pop out these kids, right? And what do they get? Bam, automatic citizenship. Off the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that was supposed to be about for Black Americans. And how many of these foreign type of Anglo-adjacent tether women and numbers of males and some other people as well, like some cosplaying, some personnel cosplaying Black Americans, again, from certain sections of Africa, certain sections of the Caribbean, the ones that applies to that cosplay Black Americans when they want trying to get some beneficiality, right? And they dip back out and say, "Oh, no, we are from this country in Africa. We are from this particular island of the Caribbean." Well, you get the point, whatever other place, right? When it's convenient for them to say that. You see how this game goes. And I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters in Africa. I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. So we're not going to play that deflection tactic, right? We're not going to play that. So last thing I want to sit there and show is another quick article, real fast on that. Make sure you can see that. All right. Double check here. All right. Okay. So it says September the 12th, 2023, right? See, this is why the power of history is important. Not What about now? What about now? See, this is why supremacists is brilliant, and they are the masters of manipulation, right? They have got so many people, especially to gear themselves toward tell Black Americans forget about the past, right? But you would never tell other cultures and backgrounds that have had to flee themselves, right, to get away from certain situations going in their country. And again, I'm not talking about some of the decent personnel that say, hey, they wanted to leave, that opportunity to leave, situations going on. Hey, do their thing. But we're not talking about those small amounts that really justifiably have some things going, and they're not trying to lie on application, they're not trying to get freebies and resources left and right, off of what Black Americans have had to keep going through left and right of Black pain for centuries, and still not getting no reparations, still not getting the anti-American Black hate crime bill, right? You see how that's insulting in itself. But I'm saying, but quite a number of other people that are fleeing different places, they're only regurgitating the same type of things, right? I'm not going all out on here. Just understand, they regurgitating the same thing to get into America, claim asylum. Many of them just be claiming in general stuff. Because the question should be, who are you running from again? Who are you fleeing from? People that look like them overall, right? Overall, right? Black Americans been going through political Black pain, going through socially Black pain, going through bad seed slave patrol mounted type people, consistently going into the 21st century Black pain, right? Going through political switchery against Black Americans, being taken advantage of overall in the voting process, where Black Americans are told basically vote for one particular party. End of story. If you don't, then you know what? You're not really Black. If you don't vote for one particular political party and stuff like that, but if you vote for the other political party, again, you ain't Black and stuff like that. Or you know what? You don't know. You know, you hate your color, you hate your mama, you hate anything, right? But at the same time, the same type personnel are not often tangibles to Black Americans. But at the same time, other people sit there, don't even have to demand too much stuff from politicalness and get all kind of different resources and benefits and freebies. You see how insulting that is, right? So the thing about it is, this last article, hundreds of, you see the word here, of Serbs live freely around the world. Tomiak was discovered by a Serbian electrician, right? So it goes, but try to, no, you don't tell them to forget about their history, right? People just tell Black Americans to forget about history left and right. And quite a number of Black Americans just say, okay, all right, whatever, right? And this is why I have to keep saying, unfortunately, because of so much internal Black pain, right? And there are just not enough Black Americans that are beyond tired of getting used in the political sense, social sense, in a system sense, right? You have to fight and battle with sellouts and coons and tethers and however numbers immigrationists, the ones applies to that mean nothing to Black Americans. They mean Black Americans no good whatsoever. I mean, the list goes on, the ones applies to, right? With small exceptions of Black Americans, right, that are sitting there trying to fight to get reparations, to fight to sit there and get a anti-Black American hate crime bill, to fight to be treated as citizens. Black Americans have been trying to be treated citizens for the last several centuries. It's only but a small amount of Black Americans that are trying to do that, right? And because of so little, right, when it should be collectively, because so much of those turmoil, so much type of Black pain internally that's consistently put toward Black Americans, with few exceptions, Black Americans collectively only have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction of collectively Black American culture, right? Yeah, it's all fun and games that Black Americans collectively have a lot, well, let me phrase that, are not illegal 0%, by the way, which is a different topic. And so they are a main voting bloc that's taken for granted collectively, right? But this is why supremacists, they want various types of more immigrationist people. They want more tethers that have the skin to Black, that don't have Black Americans back, that hate Black Americans, but they want to use Black American vernacular thought patterns. What's it? Anyway, I forgot the word. What it is. But they want to use Black Americans when it's convenient to use Black American, right? You see how that goes, right? So you got all these and liability to border break illegal immigration type personnel to lie and regurgitate. I mean, the list goes on, right, people? There are slowly and surely getting more people, right? And so they'll get these people to get naturalized in the U.S. I mean, the list goes on, right? And that slowly pushes out even more, slightly more and more Black Americans. You see how this game goes. This is why you can look in various types of cities, right? And see, anyway, let's take some other like Baltimore. Baltimore is still, I think, predominantly Black, but it's slowly changing. Washington, D.C. was predominantly Black. You see how that's changed, right? You get the point, right? Like Atlanta. Oh, Atlanta predominantly Black. It's slowly and slowly that's changing. You see how that goes, right? You see what they're doing. Places in California that had, I mean, there's no gigantic Black Americans, but it still was a larger number. But now Black Americans are low single digits. And LA, low single digits of Black Americans, right? They've pushed in a lot of immigration, a lot of Hispanicism. The ones that play Black and brown tactics toward Black Americans, the ones, and the numbers of Black Americans, the ones that don't know the game, what's going on, the hatefulness that certain numbers of Hispanics have for Black Americans up there, and certain type of white adjacent Asians up there, to what it once applies to, right? Even though Asia is a continent, right? And people just throw Asian terminology out like they sitting there drinking water, right? But that's a whole game in itself. So Belgrade, December 9th, hundreds of Muslims and Croats who participated in crimes against Serbs in the past war and BIH have been living freely around the world for decades. The Belgrade-based such and such, whatever reports. Nada Tomiak, a former member of the notorious Zakfakor unit of the so-called BIH army, was recently arrested in America. A such and such source from security circles pointing out that the bigger problem in their detection is that they fled BIH something before being accused of war crimes, and that there are no Interpol arrest warrants against them. So they fled before any type of true accusations of war criminality can be put upon them. That's how that goes, right? That's how it goes. A Serb employed as an electrician at a prestigious university in Connecticut played a decisive role in the exposure and arrest of Tomiak. Some people know what might well-known prestigious university that they may be talking to. But it's interesting how, what did it say? A Serb. Now, again, they didn't say if that Serb was on a visa. They didn't say if that Serb had they been naturalized U.S. citizen. But the point is, they made sure to say a Serb, right? That means they have their cultural context, right? This says they have U.S. citizenship through naturalization, right? They still be used Serb, right? Serb. See, no one plays this game that they try to tell Black Americans, just say America. Just say America in the story. That's nationality. Has nothing to do with the cultural context of it. So other people can have a cultural context and they can use America as a nationality, but how many personnel just use America as like a gold mine and get resources and freebies and sending things back home to whatever their foreign country that they left from, and to family and friends, and or they still get resources over in America, open up businesses through taxpayers' money, immigration resources, programs. The list goes on, right? And they know many American Blacks have no idea of the amount of free resources given to these type of immigration personnel and border breaking illegal immigrant type personnel. The list goes on. Oh, they know many American Blacks have no idea, but they know Black Americans are some of the most openest people that will fight other people's rights in battles. And that is some major sickness that's still affecting Black Americans collectively right down to this day in January of 2026. So the thing about it is, because, by the way, it's talking about university, it's prestigious, and how many of those prestigious universities utilize free Black American labor? Huh? You see how that goes, right? See how this goes. He contacted former inmates offering help through his friend, an American professor appalled by crimes without punishment. That professor, right, appalled by centuries of Black pain, centuries of anti-Black American terrorism, right? Were they appalled by segregation? Were they appalled by Reconstruction? Huh? Were they appalled about lynchings of Black Americans? Are they appalled in the 21st century about the number one group of people that has most hate crimes put upon them as Black Americans? Are they appalled by that? You see this game, man. You see this game. Golly, it's not even a good game. It's like know how to play the games, but not infantile level versions. The same professor then went to the office of his senator in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and later called the such entity. So on December the 1st, news of Tomiak's arrest arrived from Bridgeport. Oh, did they sit there in Connecticut? Oh, I bet they not talk about what about the Black Americans that get racially anti-Black American racially racized in various parts of Connecticut? How about that? Oh, they quiet on that. So that goes. Let me see. Hold on. I want to read this part here. Whatever this person, a former inmate of the prison for Serbs in such and such place, told whatever entity that he assumed that Tomiak was a woman who carried a tray with a knife to slaughter Serbs captured in 1992 on whatever Mount something, Igman and some who were tortured and unalived by members of the Zulfikar unit that she was a part of. They talk about how when they were captured in 1992 with my brother such and such and other Serbs on the Mount something, Igman, we were transferred to the famous hotel on Mount such and such place where we were captured by the Zulfikar unit and crowded into one room. Soon a woman appeared at the door with a tray covered with a white cloth on which there was a knife. That woman could be arrested, Nada Tomiak, but I'm not sure. He added that the woman brought a knife to a man to whom they brought his brother, whatever his name. He put him over his knee and cut his throat with a knife. He was slaughtering my brother. See, this is reality, people. That's reality. The criminal then put this person over his knee and cut him on the neck. Both of them miraculously survived, and they both bear the same scars on their necks. He says that the woman carrying the tray with the knife, whom he believes could be arrested, Nada Tomiak, was influential in the Zulfikar unit and known for crimes. Let me fast forward this. It talks about how in this document book, the suffering of Serbs in whatever this place, witnesses such and such person says that the list of night visitors expanded with the arrival to whatever this place is. Sometime they came in the middle of the night and tortured us until dawn. Among those who took the lead in those night visits was Nada Tomiak from whatever this place, said this person. Who this person was, sister of Silos inmate, whatever this person is, who passed away after being brutally beaten on Mount Igman in 1993. In her statement after trial before the court of whatever this place is, in the case against a member of the Zulfikar unit, said her father gave her a piece of paper for his passing on which some names and messages were written. I'm finishing up the extreme powerful part. According to her, the name of Nada Tomiak, who beat him the most, was also written on the paper. the same time, you'll have personnel doing just like this after what I read.
Oh, brings it here into the barrel. Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
So how many of them have escaped and they committed war crimes in various countries? And they lied on the immigration application, especially when they try to get U.S. citizenship. Hey, how many have lied? Many have lied, people. How many personnel claim asylum and have lied and regurgitate at the same time? Same thing. How many border break illegal immigrants have lied? Running to the border, fleeing to the border and lied. How many? You'd be like, who are you running from? Because people you're talking about mostly looks like that person. But Black Americans who have been the most hated people in America for centuries, not because they were doing criminality to people, putting numbers of Anglo personnel on plantations left and right, putting what we call wink wink Native Americans, because again, you got people that from Anglo culture that were putting them names on various roads and to call themselves Native Americans. And interesting, but they're not called pretendians. But where certain numbers of Black Americans say, wait a minute now, we also have some also demographicalness of genetics that said that we also have some Black natives. Oh, y'all pretendians. So there are some sick numbers of Black Americans mentalities, right? Sickness on that. But same time again, how many personnel benefit off of Black pain, right?
Where does it come from? All this hatred. Do you think it might be a little more serious than missing persons?
I don't think so, boy.
Some things are worth dying for.
You admire these kids, don't you?
Don't you? Did it ever occur to them they would end up dead? Maybe. I'm looking for some information.
I ain't got nothing to say to you, sir.
Afternoon, ladies.
Do you honestly think you people be down here at all going for those two white boys?
Maybe not, miss.
This is...
I'm guessing over here.
I'm here to tell you our neighbors were happy. Several people in college kids came out here stirring things up. Before that, there wasn't anybody complaining. Nobody dared.
What's wrong with these people?
Nobody dared.
What's wrong with these people?
Mississippi Burning, a great movie. A great movie based upon trueness of stories, right? This was less than 100 years ago, people. Less than 100 years ago. In the 60s, in the 50s, was still less than 100 years ago, people. Right? So when we see these various types of immigration type personnel, are really a lot of them are latecomers to America. Many of these tetheringness, cosplaying, they're ones that are cosplaying also Black Americanism, right? And dipping in and dipping out when it's convenient for them to cosplay Black Americanism, right? But have the nerve to try to talk down about Black American, right? You see how that game goes, right? They're latecomers to America, right? Less than 50 years ago, you were not going to have a lot of African immigration type personnel in America, people, 50 years ago like that. 50-something years ago, you were not going to have a lot of various Caribbeans personnel in America like that. Again, I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters, so we're not going to play that game, right? We're not going to play that because all that tribalism going on in various parts of Africa. You still got a lot of islandism going on in certain parts of the Caribbean as well, right? Look what's going on in Cuba, right? Where's all that pan-Caribbean love out to help Cuba out. Nope, because how many don't care? Right? Where's that Pan-Africanism at in Africa, right? 50 some plus, 50 some plus countries, right? Various types of thought pattern, their own government situation. How many have some corruption? How many people have major tribalism with one another? The country next to them, side to them, on the opposite of them. You get the point, right? But Black Americans are told they're supposed to just call themselves African. When you got numbers of people in Africa don't like even call themselves African. Anyway, so I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show, and I want to play one last quick thing from the greatness of Dr. Claude Anderson.
Watch the benefits they get. They go past black folks at 200 miles an hour.
Let me back this again.
Watch the benefits they get. They go past black folk at 200 miles an hour. Pass them. That's why in all these cities, in Chocolate City, they do better right here in Chocolate City. Now they're underneath the immigrants. The immigrants that come in the country, they get a point over black folk for being an immigrant. Blacks are the only none. Two, all of them are classified as whites. The Arabs, Asians, Hispanics, they all been reclassified as whites. Even American Indians back in the 1890s became classified as whites. They get a point. That's the second point. They get over black folk in getting access to resources and benefits. The third thing they get the benefits of being put into a minority category. They're classified as minorities over black folk. Thirdly, they come in with a culture, and they can establish a culture, and they can now build businesses and industries and relate back to their homeland. And lastly, what they can do, they also bring in a religious aspect and business opportunities for their people. Black folk get nothing.
And I also go for this war criminal Anglo adjacent woman, right? She fled. And she was able to slide under what? Generically immigration. And she was classified as what? White. See how that game goes, right? But Black Americans, again, the number one most hated group in America for centuries. Blame for talking about black and black crime, black and black crime, black and black crime, when black folks, again, Black Americans don't commit the most crimes. You see how that game goes, right? Has the most hate crimes put upon Black Americans are the number one group, but no anti-Black American hate crime law. But the genericalities of what we call Asian in America got a hate crime law bill passed within the last couple of so years, right? And how they get it generically, right? Because there are a lot of white Asians, by the way. Even though Iran is an Asian country, Iraq is an Asian country, parts of Russia is an Asian country, but you don't have them run around talking about they Asians. You see how the game, if you don't know the games, then you don't know the game. And many know the Black Americans don't know how these games are played like this, right? So this war criminal, very violent, Anglo-adjacent woman fled from Bosnia and Herzegovina, being a war crime, was part of a very infamous, dangerous, violent army group over there in the area that I read about. She fled before she can be brought up on war crime charges, right? Lied on the application for naturalization. Look, she got caught, but how many that they don't get caught? But interesting, the thing about the war crimes in the Nuremberg over there in Germany, right, where they was like, hey, you know what? Don't matter. You're part of Nazism and stuff like that. Well, they were sitting there just doing what the bad man Hitler or Himmler or whatever these all these people tell them what to do. They'd be like, we don't hear all that. You should have said no. But interesting how in various sections of America, right? In how many parts in the service less than 100 years ago were segregated? Where's all the accountability for how many of those people in the service that sit there and participated in segregationists? Huh? How many of these people in various parts of in agencies and stuff like that have also had the hateness toward Black Americans once applies to, right? How many of the political figures right there that have shown hatred toward Black Americans, right? That's there and this outright insulted Black Americans, and where's all accountability for them? Holding them accountable. You see how that goes, right? Do you not know there are still people right now that are still alive in America right now that they know they participate in hate crimes put upon toward Black Americans. Do you understand that? But how many of them are brought to justice overall? Nope. Right? Because there is a system put in place to make sure that collectively it never happens. And they know it's not enough Black Americans that are beyond tired of the one-sided anti-Black American terrorism. While at the same time, these other people that flee and Tether and all that kind of stuff and still benefit off of Black pain, the Black Americans have been going through for centuries. Again, I'm not talking about sellouts and coons because they are useless to real Black Americans. Because the system knows that collectively there is not enough Black Americans who see through the game. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.